Hey, it's almost New Year's Eve, and I've had some great experiences on New Year's Eve over the years. But today, I'm going to share with you one of my more stranger New Year's Eve. It happened in Iceland about 5 years ago. So let's start with some questions. Listen and answer the questions. You can cut and paste the questions from the description below, so you don't have to remember them. Right, the first question, what two amazing highlights did we experience? What culinary delight, that's like delicious food, did we buy in Iceland? What problem did we face when we arrived at the base hotel? So the base hotel is a hotel next to the airport in Iceland. How did we keep this culinary delight frozen during New Year's Eve? On what occasion did we eat this culinary delight? Sounds very tasty. So let's get started. Iceland in winter. Northern Lights, snow, white Christmases, bitterly cold, volcanoes, snow, ice, waterfalls, more ice, more waterfalls, snow, fish, snow, lamb stews. And did I say snow? First, and so far, the only time we've been in Iceland. This was a couple of years ago, and we arrived on the 24th of December, so Christmas Eve, and it was snowing pretty heavily. So Iceland gave us a white Christmas. Very beautiful. It also gave us some very memorable moments. There were two really big highlights. The first was seeing the Northern Lights. We went on a boat trip to do this. So out in the bay near Reykjavik, we wore these very big, heavy sailor's coats. And they were really thick, but it was still very, very cold on that boat. It was below freezing, plus a real strong wind. God, I almost died. If I didn't have that coat on, I'm pretty sure I would have died on that boat. Anyway, we got to this place where we kind of got away from Reykjavik. There weren't many lights. And then we looked up to the skies, and for the first 10 minutes or so, there was nothing. So we were thinking, oh, we're going to see nothing here. But finally, we saw some little wispy clouds. Well, it looks like clouds, but it was actually the Northern Lights. And it gradually developed this. It got more and more cloudy. It was kind of like a grey white color. I was thinking, it is just clouds in it. But eventually it started dancing and doing crazy things like the Northern Lights does. And there were little flickers of green in it as well. Here's the picture my wife took. It looks very green on the camera. Maybe it's something to do with cameras. But to my eyes, it really wasn't that green. But still, it was very special. Our second highlight was going to the Blue Lagoon. And this was very special because we arrived at 9 o'clock in the morning and it was still dark. So when we got into the water, it was still dark. And when you looked up, it was stars. Beautiful, really, really magical. Gradually, it got lighter and lighter. And then we kind of had a night-day experience. So going from the stars to sunrise. And when it got light, you could see that around the Blue Lagoon, it was all snow-covered hills and mountains. Very beautiful scenery. Anyway, I digress. Because this is supposed to be a New Year's Eve story. So let's get back on track. Okay, we had some very fresh fish in Iceland, some great lamb stew and hot porridge, really great in cold weather. You could also have whales. There was rotten shark, and I think if you came in the right season, you could even eat a puffin. But those delicacies weren't for us. We found this very special Icelandic food. in the supermarket, and it was in the frozen section, and we were looking through, and then all of a sudden we saw it. A frozen sheep's head. We thought to ourselves, okay, we got to try this. We got to try it. So we left it till the last day in Reykjavik to buy it, because we thought, oh, we'll keep it frozen and take it back home. Bought it. At this stage, no problem. Then we changed hotels. We went to the base hotel, which is right next to the airport, next to the Icelandic airport, because we had an early flight the next day. And that's where we run into a little bit of a problem. The problem was our room at the base hotel was quite warm. It was too warm for a frozen sheep's head. We opened the window and tried to hang it out of the window, but the sheep head wouldn't go through the window. It was too big. We went to plan B, and we went to our communal kitchen, but it had a fridge but not a freezer. Maybe this is not a good idea, so we decided to go to reception. We asked the receptionist, can we use a freezer? Do you have a freezer that we can use? And she said, no, there are no freezers. Then we thought, well, outside, it's well below freezing, bitterly cold, lots of snow. So we kind of got an idea. We thought, well, why not leave it outside? Why not put it into a snowdrift? So that's what we did. So we went outside, went into like the courtyard of the base hotel. So there's a few buildings, and in the middle there's this like open space. We found a snowdrift to bury our sheep's head in. Now we're a bit worried because everyone likes sheep heads, of course. We kept looking around to make sure no one was looking at us, and then we buried our sheep's head in the snowdrift and tried to cover our tracks. So we think no one saw us, so we went back up to the room, and funny enough, on the way back, we saw this guy in the stairwell, and he was eating a sheep's head. I thought, oh, okay, so people do like this stuff. This was New Year's Eve, so later we went to the bar. The base hotel, at that time anyway, used to claim to have the cheapest beer in Iceland, which was, I think is about 600 krona. Is that Icelandic money, krona? Which I guess is about 6 or 7 euros. It's actually pretty cheap for Iceland. We celebrated the New Year's in the bar. Everyone. It was a typical New Year's. Everyone cheered. When it came 12 o'clock, and then the bar emptied out. On the way up, we checked on our sheep's head. It was still okay. It was still there. As we were going up the stairs, we decided we checked on another floor, the communal kitchen, and there we discovered that communal kitchen does have a freezer. Just our floor didn't have a freezer. So the receptionist, either she didn't know or she didn't care. We decided not to put our sheep's head in the freezer. We thought we'll pick it up in the morning. We went to bed. A few hours later, about 4 o'clock in the morning, we got up. I went down. Sheep head was still there, so we were able to take it back to the Netherlands. So no problems. And the end part of the story is that my wife cooked it for me for my birthday. Some parts of it was pretty tasty. The meat on the face was very tasty. Some parts had a burnt taste to it, because I think they used a blowtorch to get rid of the hairs on the face. And the eye was pretty difficult. I'm sure you're all dying to know where you can get a sheep's head from. I know it's some big ifs, but if you go to Iceland and if you want to buy a sheep's head or experience a sheep's head, I'll give you a tip, and that is to go to the restaurant at the bus station, the terminal bus station in Reykjavik. The restaurant is called, I'm not sure how to pronounce it probably. Myrin Manthus, I think. And it's located in the bus terminal. So any bus you take in Reykjavik, I believe it goes back to this bus terminal. They serve traditional sheep's head. So you don't have to cook it yourself. You don't have to take it back to your own country. I presume this restaurant is still open. I did check for a link for it, but I couldn't find one. But it's supposed to be very famous in Iceland. Okay, so that's the New Year's Eve story. Now back to the questions. Let's answer them. So what two amazing highlights did we experience? Well, we saw the Northern Lights, and we had a kind of day-night experience at the Blue Lagoon. So if you said, oh, you saw the stars and then the sunrise, consider yourself to be right. What culinary delight did we buy in Iceland? We bought a sheep's head. What problem did we face when we arrived at the room at the base hotel? There was no freezer for the sheep's head. We had no way to keep it cold. Well, we could have put it in the fridge, but we didn't. How did we keep this culinary delight frozen during New Year's Eve? Yeah, we put it into a snowdrift. We went outside, found some very deep snow and hid the sheep's head in the snowdrift. On what occasion did we eat this culinary delight? We had it for my birthday. Lovely. So that's one of my stranger New Year's experience. But do you have any New Year's Eve stories? What adventures have you had on New Year's Eve? Or perhaps you had something very memorable happen to you on that day. So let us know in the comments below. And for now, I want to wish you a wonderful New Year's Eve and a great 2022.